How's it going, everyone? As you see in this video, I'm going to be looking at the 100 greatest TV performances of the 21st century brought to us by Variety. Very curious to see who lands on this list, who gets snubbed, of course. A few key things to point out, though, that I've already read about, that they sort of had this preamble leading up to the countdown of the list. They're only going to be including one actor per show, which it's like I had mixed feelings on that, but at the same time, I understand you want to be able to depict as many different performances from different shows and have a, no pun intended, variety of actors and variety of series represented. So I understand that. I understand how that might make things easier on their side. And also, I think even more interesting is that it's only shows that started in this century, that started in from the year 2000 on. So a couple of examples they point out that won't be on here: Sex and the City, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The Sopranos, because those all started in the 90s and then went into the 2000s, into the 21st century. But because they started in the 20th century, none of those actors will be represented. James Gandolfini, Sarah Michelle Gellar, they're not going to be on here, at least not for those shows. That's pretty interesting in my mind that they chose to go that route. But again, I get it, I respect it, and so, you know, that's cool. I think it's fair. But before I continue, I want to talk about some other things because my last video was kind of rushed, kind of put it out quickly. I explained in the video how I had attempted to make that review several different times. A big reason why it's taken me a while to come out with a new video was because I did finally move. You can see I'm in a whole new setting. This is my new apartment. I've been here for about a month now, and things are going well. Things were not going well at first, though. It was a rough transition. This place was not in good shape when I first got here, and so it was a lot to deal with that and getting things moved in. And so, yeah, that was a big reason why it took me a while to get around to making any videos. I don't know if that will be in my usual setting where I filmed my review for the Mac Miller album. I don't know if it's going to continue to be in front of that wall. Maybe I'll find something different in the future. I don't know, but I think for now I'll stick with it. I think it's fine. It's okay. I'm cool with it. And it's actually been doing a little better on views than most of my reviews do in the first like 12 hours or so. So, you know what? Maybe it's actually a winning formula. I don't know. But anyways, I wanted to just skim through this list. I mean, I'm going to look at all the different options, but I'll only talk about select ones. Obviously, it's 100 different performances discussed in here. I don't want to talk through all of them. Like, that would just be tiring for me and probably boring for you guys watching. So I'll only pick and choose which ones I feel like I have something to say. But yeah, let's just start. I actually did already see number 100. So we're just going to start there. Yeah, number 100 is Jeremy Allen White as Carmen Berzado in The Bear. Great performance. Definitely one of the standout actors in that show. Interesting how it's a show that's still going on. I guess there's no limit there. Like, it can be shows that are still currently running and shows that are over. I guess they don't care about that, but yeah, that's fine with me. I think that's a perfectly okay placement. I feel like it should be higher, but I also understand it because it's still an active running show, so that's fine. Okay, so at number 90 we have Kristen Milioti as Tracy McConnell in How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother has a special place in my heart. It was one of the first sitcoms that I ever watched in full. I was probably a little too young to watch it actually at the time, but I did. I kind of got caught up on it near the release of the final season as that was airing. There are issues with the way the show wraps up, but overall, I really like it a lot. And I like Kristen Milioti in that role. She's very good. She's good as a character. But I'm sorry, how do you have her on here and not Neil Patrick Harris as Barney Stinson? His performance was legend. Wait for it. Derek. Yeah, I don't jive with that at all. I feel like and even there are other actors in the show that were definitely better than her. Josh Radnor as Ted Mosby. Allison Hannigan as Lily. Like, come on, she's good in the show, but really, like, that's who you pick from the cast? Okay, but then luckily they're coming back to the senses a little more. Later on at 71, they have Anthony Starr as Homelander. Definitely worthy of being on this list. I think similar to Jeremy Allen White, it's like, yeah, if you're going to pick one actor from that show, it's going to be him. Homelander is an amazing character, and he's phenomenal in this role. I don't know how he hasn't been nominated for an Emmy yet. I know people are going to say, well, it's a superhero show. Yeah, but this show actually got nominated for Best Drama and Best Writing in a Drama Series for its second season. It was nominated for the Writing Award for the finale. So clearly there isn't any kind of discrimination, or at least not as much, with this show. So I don't know how it hasn't been nominated yet. He definitely should be. I think the fourth season is eligible for nominations this year, so hopefully he'll get one. But yeah, excellent performance, excellent character. Very happy with this selection here. Okay, later we have Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff / Scarlet Witch in WandaVision. This is kind of a weird one. It's like I'm these feelings that I'm kind of feeling spontaneously right now. It's like indifference. Yeah, she's good, but I don't know, like top 100 of the century. Yeah, this is kind of a weird one for me. I don't want to say she's not deserving of it because the performance is fine, but really like top 100 of the century, I guess I just don't agree with it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so at 50, we have Susie Essman as Susie Green in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think you could really go with any of the actors in the show. I think all the acting in that show was so good, even from Larry David. But yeah, that's kind of one where I wouldn't be too upset about any of the actors getting picked and selected for this list. She's awesome in the show, such a funny character, and yeah, that's totally fine with me. Not better than Anthony Starr, good, or maybe not even better than Jeremy Allen White, but that's fine with me. Being on this list at all, I think that's cool. This I'm not as cool with though. Sydney Sweeney as Cassie Howard in Euphoria. She's good in the show, but again, it's like you pick her over Zendaya or even Coleman Domingo, who's not a big part of the show, but is great anytime he's in it. I would even probably put Angus Cloud above her performance. Like, yeah, there's several other actors I think you should rather give it to instead of her. What about Hunter Schafer? All right, we're getting pretty close to the top 10 now. At number 16, we have Jessica Walter as Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development. Rest in peace, Jessica Walter. This is a great performance. I think even if you're just taking into account the original 3 seasons on Fox, I think especially if you're taking those into account, totally get why you pick her out of the bunch. Another example where you could have probably picked any of those actors, and yeah, I think that's totally fine. Picking this one, totally okay with that. Number 12, Steve Carell as Michael Scott on The Office. Absolutely should be on this list. It looks like from the description here that they're insinuating that they could have picked Ricky Gervais in the UK office, but went with him instead. And I think this was the right decision, personally. As much as I do like his performance, Gervais, in the UK office, I think it definitely should be Steve Carell. Michael Scott is just such an iconic character. You know, if it weren't for this show, I probably wouldn't make as many "That's What She Said" jokes as I do. It's like one of my favorite jokes to make. So yeah, because of that, only because of that, this placement is justified. Into the top 10 now. Number 9, we have Rhea Seehorn as Kim Wexler on Better Call Saul. I like the acknowledgement of her performance in the show. It's a great performance. It's a great character. I like it. She's one of my favorite characters in the show too. So like personally for me, I like seeing this. But once again, like why not Bob Odenkirk as Jimmy McGill / Saul Goodman? Why her instead of him? I don't understand that logic personally. I would even maybe take Jonathan Banks in this placement instead of her. But again, nice to see her on here. But yeah, like I don't know if it's totally deserved. And then number 5, Bryan Cranston as Walter White in Breaking Bad. Yes, of course, that should be on here. I don't know why it's higher. 5 feels kind of low to me. I think maybe top 3 at least. But yeah, of course, it's another thing like with the Steve Carell Michael Scott selection. It's freaking Walter White, of course. It has to be on here. Elizabeth Moss as Peggy Olson in Mad Men is number 3. Pleasantly surprised to see that on here. I would probably rather rank John Hamm in that role as Don Draper at number 3, if you're going to pick anyone from the show. But I'm actually not too upset about this. She's great in the show, so yeah, that's cool. Number 2, Jeremy Strong as Kendall Roy in Succession. This, I think, was the right pick of that huge cast to have that at number 2. I think that works. I mean, they're all so good in the show, but I think if you're going to pick one, that's the right one to pick. He is pretty much the main character in the show, and it's such a good performance, such an interesting character. Yeah, that's cool with me. And then number 1, we have Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Selena Meyer in Veep. I've only seen parts of Veep. I haven't seen the whole show, so I don't have much to say about that. But she's very good in what I have seen of it, so okay, you know, I'll trust their judgment, I guess. I don't know, I actually maybe won't because of some of the other questionable picks on here. Anyways, guys, that is the list. That is the whole list that I just went through. I didn't talk about everything, obviously, but some of the highlights of it. Overall, I kind of knew what I was getting into. I knew there would be a lot of things I wouldn't agree with. As I went through the list more, the idea of only selecting one actor per show, I just was not as on board with that as I was initially, thinking I would be okay with that. But yeah, no, there were a lot of snubs that definitely should have been on here. As I mentioned, you know, why not John Hamm as Don Draper, or maybe some other cast members from Arrested Development. You know, I think Will Arnett as Job. He's so good, so funny in that show. Where was Dexter? Like, no Michael C. Hall, no Jennifer Carpenter, nothing from that show at all. John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer did not make it onto this list. Why? Yeah, but I would love to know your thoughts on this list. Who do you think should have been chosen? What do you think was the right choice? Do you agree with number 1? Curious to know that as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.